finally here from Our Protection Dogs. So today we're going to talk about some common mistakes that people make with their puppies.
Hi, I'm Charles and I'm joining in this conversation.
Yeah, I think we thought about doing this video because we've got a puppy in the house again.
Another one.
Yeah, it's a normal thing for us. This time a little female. So we thought we'll quickly discuss some things that or some mistakes that we see people make regularly and how to avoid them, or different ways to think about things, especially for your protection dog.
I think the first thing I would like to start off, before I forget the word again, is anthropomorphism. It took me a while to pronounce that word, but anthropomorphism. So anthropomorphism is if you get basic like human features to that of an animal, or things that we as humans feel, or things that we as humans do into an animal, like for instance treating a puppy like a human baby. That is one thing that I have noticed, that is people say, oh shame but this, oh shame but that, but there's a lot of things with this oh shame which causes problems when you anthropomorphize your little puppy. It is not a human being, it is still a dog. It thinks like a dog, it operates like a dog, it was put together like a dog, and it's programmed like a dog. It does not think or reason or do anything like we do. Therefore, we should go all out to make sure that we do treat our puppy like a dog.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make, and then later wonder why they've got so many problems, or why the dog disrespects them, or they've got a chaotic life with their dog. Well, dogs need leadership, and they're happy when they know what's going to happen, when there's routine, and when they don't have to make all the decisions.
And it's funny with this is how much we will allow that little pup to do. Now, I need to let's think about a human being over here. It takes from birth to a certain time in its life years for it to develop. It takes years for us to develop, and then from that development stage, let's say we stop developing at the age of 18, or we then basically we start learning things, and it takes a long time. Where if you think a puppy is from birth to 8 weeks, it is already knowing how to operate in a lot of things. It understands, well, it doesn't understand, but you can use something like classical operant conditioning to teach a 6-week or an 8-week-old puppy to sit, for instance. Or classical conditioning, it gets used to the idea of when it gets fed, the sound of the pellets dropping into the bowl, it knows exactly what that is. Now, for a human child, it takes a little bit while to get to the stage or anything with its development. So it develops really, really quickly into a fully grown animal at the age of about 2 years. So there's a lot of things that we can make mistakes with. Like, for instance, one I always say is like your puppy on the couch. Then when pup is 8 months old and weighs about 25 kilos or 28 kilos, you don't want the pup on the couch anymore. Now it's difficult to get the pup off the couch. So if you don't want the pup on the couch, don't put it when it's small, because now the pup doesn't understand why all of a sudden it's now getting corrected for something it was allowed to do the whole time.
Yeah, I think treat your puppy like, be consistent in your rules. Like, if that is the rules when it's going to be an adult, it should be the rules when they are puppy. So don't feel sorry for them and then allow them to do all the things, and then you've got so much problems to sort out later. Another big thing with that is jumping up on you. It's very cute when the puppy jumps up on you and you pet it and stuff, and then when it's big, it jumps up on you when you want to go out all dressed up nicely, and then you get upset, and so it's not worth it. So if you don't want your dog to jump on you, you do that from day one.
From day one. And the other thing is biting. People come and show you how their arms look like, how the puppy's been biting their arms, and I think this is really funny. Well, let's see how funny that is when pup is 9 months old or a year old and it bites you then and puts you into hospital, and then pup gets put down for being a vicious dog, but you're the idiot that taught it that it's allowed to bite you. I've noticed with us, with our 3 females in the house, if we have a new puppy in the house and you'll see them jumping up and want to bite at them and play with them. As soon as that happens, they get reprimanded really, really harshly by one of those females, and it's usually like a siren going off from the puppy. Wow, wow, wow. But they correct them harshly. You just don't do that. So for me, it's just like I don't want my puppy to be biting. Just remember one thing we always say is there's a lot of things about corrections. We don't want to do a lot of corrections. Corrections is like, for instance, when you're doing a stay with your puppy at 8 weeks and it breaks the stay and you have to constantly correct that. Those are the kind of stuff that we want to avoid. And that's why we bring in something like crate training, and you can have a look at our previous videos where we discussed it. But you can correct your dog in the sense of if it bites you, to stop doing that. If it jumps up on the couch, to stop doing that. Obviously, if you're raising a detection dog, it's going to be raised a little bit differently or anything like that. But we're talking about a protection dog, your personal protection dog, which you want to have manners in the house. So you're raising it in the house. So you are allowed to correct the dog. The pup needs to know from day one what is right and wrong. And I think I bring this guy up a lot. And what I say, and it's Dick Stahl, in his book, he says the first thing he teaches a pup is he teaches it yes and no, what it's allowed to do and what it's not allowed to do. From day one, once that pup comes into his house, the pup needs to know the rules and how basically to correct himself by if he does something wrong and he gets reprimanded verbally or anything like that, that how the pup needs to react to that.
Yeah, I think the key is balance there. Like, you don't want to overcorrect unnecessary, but you don't want to not correct at all.
Yeah.
You have to also teach the puppy what corrections is and how to fix behaviors. Otherwise, the pup is a year old and you correct it and it either bites you because how dare you correct it, or it shuts down completely and so, oh my God, Mama is upset with me or whatever. So you need to teach them how to work through that. I do think it's beneficial. I'm not saying go and hit your puppy. That's not what we're saying, please. Yeah, so just teach it that it is what is wrong and what is right. And then don't be unfair as well. Like, don't leave your shoes there if you've got the puppy outside, because they're going to chew it now. They like investigate everything and everything needs to be chewed, and that's how they get to know the environment. So I'd rather just put the shoes away from the beginning so we don't have to unnecessarily reprimand the puppy.
Then what really gets to me also is the kind of equipment that gets used on pups. So in the beginning, and we spoke about this also under our equipment video, we like to use a harness in the beginning. We're talking about a young little puppy now. We like to use a harness, but on that dog is also a collar. We find a lot of times with dogs that come in for inboard training with us that has been pampered and anthropomorphized to such a degree that they're only allowed to wear a harness because their neck might get hurt and stuff like that, that when we do start doing bite work with a broad flat collar, that these dogs are so traumatized by having a collar around them, that restriction, that it takes us literally a week before we can start doing proper bite work. You want to teach the puppy also the restraint or the holding back of a flat collar around the neck. That is very, very important. And walk that puppy from day one on that so that he can learn, or she can learn. I'm not talking about walking for 3-5 kilometers with your puppy, because that's stupid. I mean, short little distances with that little 8-week-old puppy is good, and have food with you. As soon as pup starts pulling, stop that, bring the dog back, teach him from day one that he's not allowed to pull. This is going to make life so much better for you at a later stage. And it's not that you don't know how to do it. We have videos out there of our previous videos that tells you exactly how to stop things like that from happening. So equipment, don't be a equipment fixated type of person that it needs to have this, it needs to have that, it needs to have that, it needs to have that. No. In the beginning, just like we said, a small little harness for the bite work and getting the dog to feel that pressure at the back, and a little flat collar from the beginning.
And then I think another mistake is people don't socialize their dogs. But please just know, when we say socialize, we do not mean going to meet all the other dogs that's out there. It's just taking your puppy to different places, or just so it can experience the world. Keeping your dog in the backyard and then at a year sending him for training or something is it's really a bad idea, because that poor dog is so stressed for going out of its environment. It literally takes a week to 2 weeks for them just to settle in, and then what's left to actually get some good training out of the dog. So, and if you want to do a sport or anything like that, you're constantly going to be travel to new places, and then every time your dog gets there, it's a big issue. So get the dog out, let it drive in the car, let it go with you and see some places, let it be in the house, let it be outside. Don't leave that dog there in the backyard. I know you're working and everything, but you need to weekends or whatever you can, need to get your puppy out to experience life. And
especially with socialization is environmental things, cars, wind. Think of it like this. Let's say, for instance, you take a human being and you put him in a 10 by 10 meter box for the first 20 years of his life, and all he ever saw was what was in that box. So a toilet, maybe a bath, a bed, walls, maybe blue, maybe green, didn't really see orange. Now all of a sudden, after this, you bring him out into the world and he sees a car for the first time, or a motorbike for the first time, or a television set for the first time. This is very stressful because it's all new things for them to see. So you must remember, for your dog, it's going to be exactly the same. The more you can, not talking about humans and dogs, the more environmental things you can show your dog, the better, because this makes them more social, this makes them more confident because they know more, and every time you get to a new place, it's not for them that bad to overcome. Taking your puppy after you've done all your vaccinations to the vet, just to pop in by the vet and make sure that he goes to the vet and gets to meet people at the vet and see what's happening at the vet, things like that, it could be great beneficial for you doing that as a puppy when it's at a later stage. It doesn't get to the vet, and now big problem is vet can't work with the dog. It's terrible for the dog to get to the vet. So we have to socialize and think of all the kind of things that you can show your dog that will make life easier for him or her.
And then a training mistake, I think we get a lot. I think it comes in with this shift that's going on in the dog world, or where we had like an old school sort way of training and thought of how dog training should happen to the newer ways of doing things. Start training your puppy from the beginning, and I'm not just saying with the obedience, I'm talking about the protection. That old way of thinking of the dog needs to mature, needs to be a 1-year-old before we start, it's really outdated. It's because they used a lot of negative ways and defensive ways to teach the dog, and then the younger dogs couldn't handle it. But hopefully you are a trainer at a training facility or a place that does not use those kind of methods anymore, and that can actually teach your puppy from the very beginning. It is very beneficial because there is so much work you can put into that first year, and fun for you and the dog. Just teaching the dog what to do, developing their drives and stuff is a lot of fun, and it's very beneficial then to leave that dog with nothing and then think at a year that you're going to know in 6 weeks or 2 months put in all the work. It's not going to happen. It's still going to, in fact, it's going to take you even longer to teach that dog to bite.
I've also noticed a lot of times you get either people that procrastinate with their training and people that wants to rush the training.
Yeah.
They want to get to do all these things, and their pup is not even like 6 months old, but they want to do all these like elaborate things and advanced things with their dogs. It is very, very simple. You need to get the basics done, the foundation work done first, and the dog needs to understand the foundation. The dog needs to understand how to learn. It needs to understand how classical and operant conditioning works. It needs to understand by success I can get more, or I offer behaviors and I get for success for those behaviors, or I offer behavior and I don't get success for it, that didn't work. And a lot of times people either rush it, or they get to harp on things that's not important, like the damn stays for a puppy. It's like people will harp on a stay, but the dog can't down properly or he can't sit properly, but they want to harp on a stay. The thing is with protection puppies, you've only got a period from about, if you breed self, 6 to 12, 14 weeks, but when you get it to 8 to 14 weeks, 15 weeks, pushing it before they start teething. So in that time, you want to put that effort in biting. And you don't want to have long, elaborate sessions. You want short sessions where the dog actually learns things. Every time you come out, there needs to be an improvement on that pup. If there's not an improvement on the pup, first check yourself, because the fault 100 times out of 100 lies with you, or the dog was genetically net. But you're not going to be such an idiot to choose yourself a dog that's not genetically gifted to do the job. I mean, obviously we've showed a couple of videos, we've had a couple of videos on how to choose a puppy and look for a puppy that's genetically gifted, and you're not going to make that mistake. So we're talking about people that don't make that mistake. So you want to try. If it's not working, you're not progressing, the fault lies with you.
And then another thing that people really struggle with is the potty training. I don't know why, but I think people struggle because it's intense. For me, it's intense because you have to like be on it the whole time. You can't forget. You can't get busy with something and then forget about the puppy. That kind of stuff. So these small little puppies want to go out. If they're busy, like up and down the house, like every 10 minutes, you have to take them outside to the grass. If they're in their crate, they can't stay there for too long, otherwise they're going to mess in their crate, and then you're just teaching them to mess, that it's okay to mess in the crate. So the whole idea is you want to teach the dog a preferred area or preferred surface of where it wants to defecate or pee or whatever you want to call it. So it's your job to teach the puppy that the area that he prefers is the grass. So you need to take it out, you need to walk outside with it until it wheeze or whatever, and you praise, good girl or good boy, and you come back in. That is the only way you're going to get this right. There's some people that use puppy pads and all that, but that, for me, that is just another thing I have to fade away. So the big thing is just, it is hard work. A puppy is hard work. You need to watch it the whole time. You have to get up during the night. They have to go out. They can't, their bladders just can't, it's not that fully developed, so they can't keep that large amounts of wee there. So they want to go to the bathroom a lot. So that is your responsibility to take them out a lot.
And remember, animals are creatures of habit. So get them into a routine as quickly as possible. And set yourself goals. Like, for instance, I'm going to try not for puppy to defecate or wee in the house or anything. So that is my goal. So I'm going to constantly look and everything like that, that it doesn't happen. And while we're talking like this, and you think to yourself, damn, but this is a lot of work. Yes, it is a lot of work. If you want to be a responsible dog owner and a responsible dog trainer, these are the kind of things that you have to go in depth with. Taking the dog, sticking his nose in the shit that it just had there with a rolled up newspaper and beating his head in, that's not really the ideal way of looking after. We trainers, we dog trainers, so we want to train the dog that this a natural behavior of it, where if it's the Persian carpet or the grass, it's quite natural to it, but it's an unwanted behavior by us. And therefore we have to teach the dog in a positive way and a way of less conflict that we would like you to do it outside. A tip with the grass also is, if you take pup back to that same spot again and it smells that it's peed there or pooed there, it's easier that to do it over there. So these are the kind of things that you have to look at, because if you can potty train your dog, it's a solid behavior. Now at a later stage, you get the dog that sits in front there by the door and starts whining because he wants to go out, and let him go out, and he goes and does his thing outside. So spend a little bit more time and effort into it. There is no quick fix. Train your dog.
And I think in the same way, because we like touched on this in the crate training, the mistake that people make there is, first, they start too late with the crate training. They feel sorry for the puppy, and then they want to put the puppy in a crate, and then it's so much more difficult. Where if you just do it from the beginning, it's part of puppy's life. Okay, so that's the first tip. And the second tip is, don't take your dog out while it's whining. Yeah. Because you're teaching it that when it whines, it gets what it wants. It gets to be taken out, and then you're creating a habit out of that, and then it's very difficult to break, and then you've got a noisy dog in the crate.
You must remember that the pup is in control of the situation. Now it's whining. You open it, it learns that it's successful when it whines.
Yeah.
It's not a behavior that I taught the puppy, it's a behavior that the puppy is teaching himself or herself, and that they learn that so much quicker. I always use the example of pushing over a dustbin. A dog has to push a dustbin over once and eat out of it. It's learned. That dustbin's got food. Now you go and try and teach a dog to push a dustbin over and eat out of it. It takes quite a few repetitions, and you have to break down that little exercise in quite a few different parts that you have to train separately to get them to do that. So if the puppy understands that it can manipulate his environment at such a young age to the benefit of himself or herself, you've got a problem. So you don't want that pup to whine the whole time and then go and open it because, oh, I feel so I feel so sorry for the poor puppy, and oh, he's crying. No, he's actually training you. And at the same time, with the crate training, if you can't get sleep at night because the puppy is whining in the crate, have you ever thought of trying doing it during the day when you're awake? So the puppy whines and you don't care about the whining, and once he stops whining, you let the pup out, to wanting to do it at night time. Very thing that you have to pay attention to.
No, okay. I think for me that's about what I wanted to say, or some of the most common things that I see people struggle with.
Yeah. And another thing is people forgetting to vaccinate their pups.
Yeah, but we've talked about this.
People tend to forget about that.
I don't think they forget. I think they're just lazy or want to save money. So this is our new baby. She's very sleepy. She was sleeping. Yeah.
Talking about anthropomorphizing our new baby. Yeah, there we go, Lagatha. Naughty little shit. So guys, if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. We do apologize for not sending a video out the last couple of weeks. We had some technical problems, and as you know, I always say this, we're not good with that part there about everything. We have some knowledge about dogs that we would like to share with you, but when it comes to working cameras and that kind of stuff, we're pretty stupid. So we're also still learning about the cameras and everything. If you've got any questions with what we spoke about, or you're interested in any Zoom sessions on training sessions, please contact us, email us, and that's us.
Yeah, until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.